A bonsai tree is a living sculpture. It doesn't grow that way, it's made. You cut it, wire it, and twist its limbs into something delicate and beautiful. It is praised, but it's still a prisoner in a pot. Now imagine a society did that, not to plants, but to children. For over 2,000 years in Imperial China, boys were chosen, bought, and reshaped, not to become men but to become ornaments. They were called Nanchong, the emperor's male favorites, groomed to charm, trained to obey, displayed like fine porcelain, then discarded when they broke. But before they were favorites, they were just children. And this is how it all began. You're 8 years old, there's a hollow where food used to be, and your village has forgotten the sound of laughter. Famine hangs like smoke in the air. Then one day, men arrive. They wear silk, they speak softly, and they carry silver. They are Renfan, human teeth, because they bite into the hunger of the desperate. They're not here to feed you, they're here to purchase you. Your parents offer you with downcast eyes. One man tilts your chin, inspecting your skin. Another pries open your mouth to check your teeth. They feel your bones, not with care but calculation. Can you sing, dance, sit perfectly still while you're being watched? They are not buying a son. They are buying silence, obedience, and beauty. They are buying a bonsai. This isn't some rare, back-alley deal. This was a thriving industry, especially in the wealthy southern provinces like Guangdong and prosperous port cities where merchant classes had money to burn on human decoration. Your old life is a ghost. The first thing they do is burn it to the ground. Your name is gone, replaced with a poetic title like Autumn Moon that feels like a mockery. They shave your head and dress you in fine silks, not as a gift, but as a uniform that marks you as property. Congratulations. Your new job title is Human Art Installation, and the training is about to begin. The goal? To make you beautiful, talented, and completely, utterly submissive. The curriculum is brutally sophisticated. You will memorize thousands of lines of classical poetry. You will practice the zither until your fingers bleed. You will learn to dance, to sing, and to perform in theatricals. Some of you will even be trained in massage or herbal medicine to increase your market value. But woven through every lesson is the real curriculum: psychological destruction. Every shred of your former self, your independence, your homesickness, is systematically beaten out of you. You are rewarded for obedience and punished with starvation or the lash for the slightest infraction. The pressure is immense. The mortality rate during this education was horrifyingly high. Ming Dynasty writer Zhang Dai documented this process, a machine that chewed up boys and spat out perfect, broken ornaments. For every 10 boys who entered, maybe 6 survived to be sold to a master. The rest? Unmarked graves, forgotten forever. So, you've graduated from the School of Horrors. What's your prize? A life in a gilded cage. You wake before dawn to spend hours on grooming. Your entire existence is one of constant readiness, a performance for an audience of one, your master. Your living quarters are beautiful, a luxurious cell where the door is locked from the outside. And you are not the only one here. The master enjoys variety. The household is a viper's nest of competition. He will pit you against the other male concubines, promising favor to the most entertaining, the most pleasing. This isn't a friendly rivalry. It's a silent, deadly war. Trust is a liability. Friendship is a weakness. The older concubines who have survived this meat grinder for years are often the cruelest, hazing newcomers to secure their own fragile positions. Food is a tool of control. A good performance earns you delicacies. A slight misstep earns you scraps. Your relationship with the master's wives and female concubines is a tightrope walk over a canyon. Are they allies, rivals, both? They often resent you for the better education you received, while you resent them for the potential security they might gain through childbirth, an escape route you will never have. You learn to read your master's moods like a scholar reads a sacred text. Every flicker of his eye, every shift in his tone could signal the difference between a reward and a beating. You become an expert manipulator, a master of psychology, just to survive another day. As horrific as life in a merchant's house was, the imperial court was the major leagues of suffering and splendor. The potential for power was immense, but the fall was always fatal. No story illustrates this better than that of Emperor A of the Han dynasty and his beloved Dong Xian. Dong Xian's beauty was so captivating that the emperor became completely infatuated. He showered him with titles and political power, making him one of the most influential men in China. The famous cut-sleeve story, where the emperor cut his own robe rather than wake his sleeping love, became a legendary symbol of devotion. Dong Xian's social currency was higher than a crypto bro in 2021, but when Emperor Ai died, that currency crashed to zero. The new administration, seething with resentment, stripped him of everything and ordered his death. Dong Xian chose suicide. His story was a stark warning plastered across history. The emperor's love is a sun that gives life, but when it sets, you freeze to death. But not every emperor was a romantic. Emperor Zhengde of the Ming dynasty was a collector. He housed his dozens of male favorites in the Leopard Quarter, a palace section dedicated to his parties and whims. These favorites wielded real political power, influencing military appointments and tax policies, often with catastrophic results for the empire. Life in the palace was life under a microscope made of knives. You weren't just a toy, you were a target for rival court factions, jealous officials, and other discarded favorites. And unlike a wealthy merchant who might feel some genuine affection to an emperor, you were utterly replaceable. So, the billion-dollar question: how did a society that preached strict Confucian morals about family and honor allow this to fester for 2,000 years? The answer is a masterclass in hypocrisy. The very same Confucian scholars who championed virtue were often the ones with a collection of young men back at home. Their excuse? They claimed it was a purely intellectual pursuit, that these boys offered a mental stimulation their uneducated wives could not. They framed it as a relationship purer than marriage, untainted by grubby things like family alliances and inheritance. Art became a smokescreen. Famous poets like Li Bai and Du Fu wrote celebrated verses about male beauty and companionship, carefully avoiding explicit details but creating a cultural atmosphere where it was all romanticized. Even religion was complicit. Buddhist and Taoist monasteries, supposedly places of spiritual purity, would secretly house male concubines for their wealthy patrons in exchange for large donations. Some monks even kept personal favorites, using complex theology to justify it. It was a perfect system of exploitation, built on a foundation of poverty and justified by the very people meant to be the moral guardians of the nation. For a male concubine, there was no retirement. There was only a decline. Your entire worth was shackled to your youth, and that is a battle no one wins. By your early 20s, you were considered past your prime. The constant stress, malnutrition, and painful beauty regimens led to premature aging. The psychological toll was devastating. Many developed what we'd now call severe trauma and anxiety disorders. Opium, readily available in these wealthy homes, was a common escape, leading to addiction that only made them more vulnerable. The suicide rate was staggeringly high, though often covered up as accidents to avoid scandal. The practice only began to fade in the late Qing dynasty, when Western influence and modernization began to challenge these traditional structures. Christian missionaries were horrified by what they found and wrote home about it, creating international pressure. When the Republic of China officially outlawed concubinage in 1911, what happened to the last generation? Most were just abandoned. With no life skills beyond performance and pleasing, many starved or died of illness. When the communists came to power in 1949, many former concubines were treated as symbols of feudal depravity, interrogated, sent to labor camps, or even executed. Their history has been largely scrubbed from the official narrative. It's an uncomfortable truth that complicates the story a nation wants to tell about itself. But these were real people. Their experiences are a chilling reminder that societies can normalize horror when it serves the powerful. Their stories force us to remember that progress is not guaranteed, and that human dignity is not a cultural variablate, is a universal right. The names of these boys are lost, whispered away by the winds of history. But their suffering was real, and their stories ask us a final, haunting question. What injustices are we pretending not to see today? Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you for walking through this dark chapter with me. And as always, thanks for watching.